Imagine waking up in a world of knights, castles, and ancient customs. This is the story of Hank Morgan, a 19th century engineer who finds himself mysteriously transported to King Arthur's court. In A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court, Mark Twain weaves a brilliant tale of wit, satire, and social commentary. After a blow to the head, Hank wakes up in 6th century England. Armed with his knowledge of modern technology, he quickly realizes he has the power to reshape this ancient world. But what does it take for one man to challenge tradition? And can progress ever truly erase the divide between the old world and the new? Let's embark on this fascinating journey. Hank's first stroke of genius comes when he predicts a solar eclipse, dazzling King Arthur's court and establishing himself as a man of magic. But Hank is no mere sorcerer. He is an engineer, and his ingenuity knows no bounds. Think of it, introducing gunpowder centuries early, building telegraph networks well before their official invention, erecting the foundations of an industrial society way ahead of time. He is a master disruptor of the medieval order. So picture this, knights who had only known swords now gawk at displays of chemical reactions. They watch, utterly amazed, as rudimentary steam-based machines spring to life. It's not just science to them, it's magic. Of course, every visionary has a rival, and Hank meets his in Merlin, King Arthur's fabled wizard. Merlin embodies the mysticism and superstition of the era, and Hank cannot hide his disdain for it. Conversely, Merlin sees Hank as a dangerous outsider whose inventions erode the sanctity of their medieval life. This fiery dichotomy ignites one of the book's central tensions, ancient magic versus modern reason. Though they are as different as night and day, both men aim for the same thing, control over the realm. Their constant battles over influence, knowledge, and legitimacy turn into a chess game of wits that will leave you on the edge of your seat. But Hank isn't just here to joust with wizards. He has a vision for the kingdom's future. Viewing a world where feudal lords control everything, Hank undertakes the Herculean task of bringing education, sanitation, and even socio-economic reform to the country's poorest citizens. He opens schools, initiates public health measures, and shows the peasantry ways to improve their livelihoods. Yes, Hank Morgan does more than disrupt. He creates a revolution. Imagine seeing the shock on a peasant's face when they're taught to read, in an era when access to knowledge signifies power. Imagine the children of serfs learning arithmetic for the first time, as their knighted overlords scratch their heads in dismissal. It is this part of the narrative where Twain's satire bites the hardest, ridiculing the absurdities and caste-driven cruelties of ancient society. And yet, Twain's storytelling is never boring. There's humor and jaw-dropping surprises at every turn. Take the mockery of medieval traditions in one unforgettable episode. At a grand tournament, onlookers cheer for knights in clunky armor, jabbing at each other with lances. Suddenly, Hank steps in armed with modern weapons, flipping the entire event upside down. Think knights wielding shields but trembling at the deafening blare of rudimentary explosives. The look of bewilderment on their faces is something you can't unsee. But here's the bittersweet truth. Despite all his successes, Hank begins to feel disillusioned. Societal change is never easy, especially one as radical as Hank's vision. Peasants admire him, but many of the nobles despise him. They see him as a threat, a man who not only seeks their titles, but their way of life. Whenever Hank makes strides to modernize the kingdom, he also ignites conflict, inviting betrayal and rebellion. Behind Hank's genius lies his tragic flaw, underestimating the resilience of tradition and the human need for identity. Civilization slowly unravels as adversaries unite against him. The experimental, modern England Hank built becomes the ironic backdrop of his downfall. His advanced machinery, his intellectual leaps, all turn to ruin as war envelopes the kingdom and resistance crushes his reforms. Twain uses this apocalyptic moment to critique the fragility of human progress. And then, tragically, Hank is carried away, back to his original time, as the modern engineer stares into the abyss of his dream gone wrong. you're left wondering whether it was all worth it. Can tradition and progress ever coexist harmoniously, or are we doomed to repeat humanity's cycles, resisting true change as the world evolves? In the end, A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court transcends its humorous premise. It becomes a profound meditation on the nature of power, progress, and the eternal struggle to reconcile humanity's past with its possible future. Twain challenges us to ask, is there truly a right and wrong way for humans to live, or are such distinctions too simplistic? Henry Morgan's journey will leave you pondering. If you've enjoyed this journey through Twain's timeless tale, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Tag someone who needs to read this forgotten classic. Join us next time for more captivating stories and unforgettable adventures.